All right, so we are Anemia with Prevention and Community Protection. So this is our team. I'm Veronica Brickhouse, and I'm from Leonardtown, Maryland, and I'm a rising junior.
I'm Nikita Stacy. I'm from Wisconsin and I'm a rising junior as well.
I'm Caroline Yastremski. I'm a rising junior at St. Thomas Aquinas in Miami, Florida.
I'm Santosha. I'm from Stevenson High School in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm a rising senior.
Hi, my name is Ria Sanake. I'm from Rochester Adams High School in Rochester, Michigan.
I'm Sarvesh Saravanan. I'm from Mason, Ohio, and I'm also a rising senior.
I'm Meredith Pomerank. I'm from Alabama, and I'm also a rising junior.
All right, so getting started, what is nutritional anemia? So nutritional anemia is a iron deficiency in the hemoglobin deficiency in the iron levels in your blood. So especially vulnerable groups of people are pregnant women and young children, and especially in young children, anemia can cause prolonged disabilities like growth defect or growth failure and organ defects. And it is especially important for like pregnant women to get a lot of iron in their diet so that their fetus like grows correctly and without any defects. So if you do have anemia for a prolonged state of time, you'll have an iron deficiency, which leads to a loss in strength and a loss of strength in your immune system, which will put you at risk for developing more diseases much easier than if you had been treated or had prevented it longer ago. So another question that we have is how can we implement this community garden while staying respective of the culture? So basically our idea is to implement a garden that grows iron-rich foods and then letting the Nigerian people make their own cultural meals using the ingredients however they would like to choose it, as long as they are implementing these ingredients.
So our idea for getting the permission for the land was the people going to Nigeria to implement our garden would go up to the community leaders and ask for permission to use some of the land because it will be benefiting the community. We would also let them know that the garden would be open to expansion due to like people bringing back the seeds and restemming the plants. For the location, we were thinking near the mosque just because it's centralized and there would be like less theft because it's a religious area. For the size, we were thinking 9 meters by 5 meters. And for the use, we were thinking about planting spinach, tomatoes, and pinto beans.
Okay, so our next step is about the advocates in our presentation. So basically, these are the people who are going to be advocating for our community garden to the people in the community. So first off, we have the doctors and nurses, and these people are very trusted by women and by other people in the community. So women and rely on their midwives and their nurses, and pregnant women are really, really at risk for developing anemia. So since they trust their midwives and nurses so much, they can rely on them to really trust what they're saying when they refer the pregnant women to our garden. So through the endorsement of these doctors and nurses, the women and the majority of the community will be trusted and supportive of our garden. Our next advocates are the religious leaders and the community leaders. Now, these people are well respected and very influential amongst the community. So with their approval and advocacy, we can, as a whole, sway the community to trust and support our community garden. So yeah, and then our next step is the schools. And after all this week, we know that children are very at risk for developing anemia. So we plan on just showcasing the effects of anemia and our prevention methods by having the school staff refer the children to our community garden and just give a little speech and tell them about the dangers that anemia poses for them. So our next slideshow demonstrates the types of plants that will be in our community garden. So this is spinach, tomatoes, and pinto beans. These are all very rich in iron, and pinto beans additionally are rich in protein. So the spinach will be available in the garden through early spring to late fall and takes about 6 weeks to harvest. The pinto beans and tomatoes will be available in the garden year long. However, the pinto beans do take a little bit shorter amount of time to like germinate, go from seed to fruit. They take only about 40 days, while the tomatoes take 60 to 100 days to harvest. Now, a great point in like that really affects our community garden is the weather in Nigeria. Now, there is a dry season, so to combat this, we plan on drilling a well. And this well is obviously going to be used year round to irrigate our garden. But during this dry season, which lasts approximately 7 months, we're going to just be taking more water from the garden to properly irrigate our, garden. So another point that really helps with the sustainability of our garden is that we can completely eradicate the costs of future seeds for future harvests by teaching the workers in our garden to re-stem and recollect seeds from previous harvests to use as the crops for the next harvest.
All right, so the next question that we'll have is, how are we going to distribute these resources among the community fairly? So we've seen that it was natural to give about 15% of the resources to the women or members who tend to the garden, as they're the ones putting the hard work in to maintain it. The next 5% goes to the blood donors. So us and the diagnosis and the treatment team kind of collaborated because they had the idea of donating some of the harvest to the blood donors as an incentive. So we thought that was a great idea. So we wanted to take that into account as we're the ones that are building the community garden. So 5% will go to the blood donors who donated the blood as an incentive to have an extra supply of blood when blood transfusions are needed for the severe anemia. And then the rest of the 80% of the resources will be given by need-based or by prescription by a doctor. So this idea is basically that when somebody goes to the doctor to be treated for anemia, they could give a prescription for obviously any needed treatment at the moment, but also to help with dietary changes, they could recommend that the patient go to the community garden and get a package of vegetables to help with incorporating more iron-rich nutrients in their diet. And then if you're just a family who's looking to improve their nutrition, you can just come to the community garden and talk with a leader or anyone who's running the garden and just receive a package to help incorporate into your meals for some more iron and other vitamins. And we just wanted to incorporate fairness, incentive, and posing a solution to come up with these percentages.
All right. So now that we've talked about distribution, land, harvesting, let's talk about how we're actually going to build this garden. So first, we want to organize a meeting of interested people, such as doctors who are educated and know the importance of high nutritious food with iron. So we want them to advocate, like Caroline mentioned, and recruit people who have similar interests in building a garden. This is where the planning committee comes into play. We want people who actually know how to garden, such as farmers, which we'll be paying the farmer, as well as the committee leader, like Nika mentioned, because they are very influential. Identifying all the resources that we have in activity 3, which has a brochure listed on harvest time, harvest date, as well as when to do stuff. But the most important thing is asking for land. It's very important that we ask a land that's near a mosque, because they feel when it's near the mosque, they feel togetherness, and they also feel that it's very important to preserve it and protect it because it's part of their religious activities. As well as preparing developing site basically means that to garden, the farmer will teach them how to garden the site, and then for future they can be interested in doing it again. Next is organizing the garden. We have created in a way to identify what plants are garden. We would take a stick and tie a ribbon specific to the color, such as beans would be brown, spinach would be green, and it's easy to identify what type of plants is planted where. As well as we are suggesting protocols and rules. Just to note, their protocols are just suggestions and recommendations. They can be implemented, but according to what people say or what they want, such as committee leaders can suggest. So, and then plan and maintain is the most important part. We want this to be sustainable and long-term. That's why there's a brochure that we will explain activity 3 and how that would work. Okay, so some of the protocols and rules we're suggesting is that we want people to know this garden's for everyone. It's a community garden, but however, there must be someone who has to manage planning committee in order so it doesn't get distracted. As well as gardeners must, be able to be there for the harvest as well as the end of the harvest. So we're suggesting, like we mentioned, incentives However, sometimes incentives don't work, such as barriers they have. They might get sick or they might not be fully recovered for that. So whatever the committee leaders suggest into when incentives can be used. All right. But the most important thing also is that invasive plants, they have to plant specific plants like we mentioned, because if we plant other plants, there could be destruction of the garden. So planting only specific plants would be one of the rules that we were kind of suggesting, as well as keeping it clean and free of weed. Since it's near a religious idea, it would be easier to implement it, and they would more likely to like keep it clean since it's near it. As well as Caroline mentioned, they can bring back the seeds.
When looking at anemia, it's clear that it affects a large population of Bellevue specifically. So we wanted to utilize a community garden to make sure that every person affected by anemia was getting an increased amount of iron in their diet. And we thought the best way to do this would be through a garden. This also allowed us to utilize a high-risk system or a need-based system where we prioritize high-risk patients to make sure that they're prioritized, or pregnant women are prioritized over normal people. The other major benefit of utilizing a community garden is women's independence, actually. Now with their own income, they have the outlet for economic independence since they get 15% share from crops.
Okay, so this skit will highlight diet prescriptions from doctors and how they'll be incorporated with the community garden implementation. So a doctor will basically diagnose an anemic patient and then direct them to the community garden to pick up their package or prescription. So this way it'll raise awareness about how the community garden can be incorporated into daily life and also ensure that proper supplements are added to their diet to prevent future anemic cases. So this is only one way that the residents can access the community garden. So we're going to be playing out that skit right now.
I think another suggestion we were kind of doing like as a kind of coming off of this game that they could implement in Nigeria is kind of how you have like games like House, where you have like a mother and a daughter and like a family member that you kind of play as like a house. I'm not sure if that's like a game that they don't. No, okay, then never mind. All right. Do you want to hold the mic? All right, so what brings you in today?
I've been feeling very weak. I've noticed that my skin has gotten paler. Every time I get out of my bed, I just feel like I'm gonna fall down.
Any like dizziness or dizziness, but like paleness, you're feeling fatigue, body weakness, all that. What have you been eating lately?
Well, my father lost his job, and so we haven't been able to eat much recently. And all the extras go to him anyways.
You're experiencing some nutritional anemia. So what I can do is I'll prescribe you some medication here, and then I'll also give you a note to go to the community garden, and there you can pick up a package of vegetables to implement into your diet. That way you'll have more iron-rich nutrient foods into your diet, which will help prevent anemia in the future as well.
And how much will this cost?
It's free because it's a communal garden, so everyone just shares the vegetables.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so our next exercise will be a crops distribution simulation, which will basically show everyone exactly how the community garden will be fairly distributed to the residents of the community. So this activity is visual and simple and to help enforce that idea.
Right. So in here we have fruit snacks that we're using as basically the different like types of vegetables to show the percentage shares that basically each type of person gets. So since Ria has
Okay, so since Ria has moderate anemia, she'll be getting 2 packs or 2 or 3 packs because in order to prevent that and ensure that there's proper supplementation. And then we have a no anemia and blood donor. So blood donors get 5% of the share. So in terms of, so in addition to whatever they have, they'll be getting an extra pack. And then we have a severe anemia patient who will be getting the most.
All right, so this is the brochure I made for our group. So basically this is just the front cover of it. So if we can go to the next one, that'd be great. So this is just showing how we can plant all the seeds and implement the garden. So each one is like talking about like spinach, tomatoes, or pinto beans, and it tells you like step-by-step instructions to plant them. There's also pictures for people that like may not be able to read, and that's pretty much it.
Now for our itemized budget. The first few things in our budget are our seeds. We've decided to give $20 each to every type of seed: tomatoes, spinach, and pinto beans. Next is a farmer to teach the women how to garden. We are planning to implement a 6-week program for the women, and we are planning to give the farmer $75. And then next would be all of the tools that they would need. While they may already have access to some tools, we just needed to make sure that they would have access. So we decided to buy our own, just in case. That would be shovels, hose, buckets, rakes, wheelbarrows, clippers. Finally, one of the things that we spent the most money on is terracotta cups, because we need cups/pots in order to germinate before planting in the garden. And finally, we have ribbon. Well, not finally. We have ribbon in order to mark which plant is which. And then for $50, we have the well, which is just to use for irrigation during the dry season, especially. And yeah, that's our itemized budget. Now here are our resources that we used to put together the whole presentation and everything else.
Truly last but not the least, that was exhaustive, very exhaustive and clear, and I can see community engagement and a very sustainable infrastructure you're trying to build. Aisha, I don't know, as a country, Nigeria, we've been drilling over the past years. When they are making the community guidance, I was just remembering during our elementary schools, every student has a portion of garden in his school that is dedicated to him. It is his responsibility to take care of that throughout your elementary school and early middle school, right? You call it that. But I don't know, it's completely gone. None of them is now in practice. And this is what we went through. And when we are murmuring, myself and Aisha and Anje, when you mentioned mocks, not theft, it will shock you. Yeah, you'll be surprised. People go to mocks to steal loudspeaker, sound systems, everything. Yeah, you can, but you need some measures still there. But yeah, and then the other thing, just to mention, is the issue of mocks. It's nice. When you are presenting the picture, I saw also pastors, right? Christian leaders. That's very important, because in some part of Bauchi, they have LGS that are predominantly Christians. So it won't be mocks there. Most likely there will be one or two, but there may be more churches in those places. They should be clearly stated where the religion is predominantly Christian, the guidance should be domiciled in those churches. Thank you, guys.
Hi guys, that was really good. I enjoyed the presentation. I liked the activities as well. I liked how well thought out the community garden was. Like, you really took us through the process of like, you're gonna beg for the land, you're gonna get all of your plants. You really looked on how long it would take for you to grow. It was clear that you thought about the garden very well, and I think I've been able to be convinced that it can work. I would say look at your budget again. I don't think a well costs $50. I don't know how much a well costs, but $50, yeah, it should be more. But then realistically, apart from your budget, which of course, like even I have a budget for myself every month, but I spend more than that, it's normal. But the idea in itself is really good. And also the way that you plan to show the importance of the garden is really good. And I really like the anemia groups, because you guys all connected, which was nice, which was different from other groups. Like, it was clear that maybe you talk to the other members from the other teams so that you could have like a comprehensive plan and not like you were like single when at the end of the day the same disease is in the same place. So you're already showing community work from your team. Good job. And congratulations, last team, last day. Good job.
I honestly don't think I have much to say other than how wonderful this presentation was. They have already highlighted everything. Maybe I'll just tell you a personal story as to what theft in the mosque is about. My husband does not go with any of his expensive shoes to the mosque. He goes with bathroom slippers because most likely before you finish praying, prayer usually lasts 5 to 7 minutes. And by the time you come out, you have no shoes. You walk back shoeless, barefoot. So, and the mic you buy and donate this week, trust me, in 2 days you come, it's not there. The speakers, a lot of things. So there are so many thefts going on. So I would just advise that for security purpose, you guys should maybe hire or put security cameras or something, but don't rely on the security of the mosque. Okay? Terrible people. You didn't know. You should have asked me. You should have asked. Yes, no. Yes, it's supposed to be, but we're just being realistic because we are more worried about the implementation and actualization of these ideas. Okay? We are Muslims, me and Dr. Jallo, but we're telling you the truth. Okay? So that these ideas can be actually implemented. We want to see the success of this. You have thought through everything. It's the only point I have here. Like, this is a wonderful, they have thought through it completely, even how to distribute. Okay, what should go where? Who should get what? That is just to the point, to the last. Okay, I'm so happy about this. It was a wonderful presentation. Congratulations, guys. I always tell new students when they come on Sundays, like, I just can't wait to see how we transform you within a week. And I am seeing this and it's making me immensely proud. And I'm sure your parents, all of you, will be very, very proud. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful time ahead.